Hello and welcome to this week's feature in our continuing Beyond the Bay virtual film series presented by the Bay Community Theater in Suttons Bay, Michigan. Today I'll be introducing A Christmas Story by telling the story of how the movie Porky's begat the holiday tradition that is A Christmas Story. A few months ago I asked a group of friends to share the first R-rated movie that they had seen in a theater. Because we are all of the correct age, several answered Porky's. For those of you who don't remember Porky's, it's a raunchy teen comedy from 1981, complete with locker room peepholes, teenage hijinks, plenty of nudity, and a fateful trip to a redneck brothel owned by the eponymous Porky. By the time of its release, writer-director Bob Clark was a journeyman director with 7 mediocre films to his credit, including the cult film Black Christmas from 1974. As Clark drove around one night on his way to pick up a date, he came across radio personality Gene Shepard recounting stories, either real or imagined, from his childhood home in northern Indiana. After an hour or so of listening, Clark realized the stories, which would later be published in a short story collection called In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, would make a great movie. At the time, Clark was unsuccessfully shopping a screenplay in Hollywood, with little prospect of getting it produced. He contacted Shepard, obtained the rights to the stories, and started the screenplay that would eventually become A Christmas Story. Meanwhile, Clark was able to secure financing from a Canadian company for the other screenplay he had completed. With $5 million in hand and a boatload of Canadian tax credits, he set about making Porky's, a film that would go on to gross almost $200 million in global box office receipts. When Porky's 2 followed in 1983 and grossed $105 million, Clark was officially on a roll. When he pitched his finished script for A Christmas Story, however, he was again met with disinterest from all the major studios. Fortunately, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the once venerable Hollywood studio, had fallen on hard times and was reduced to producing cheap schlock in an effort to stay one step ahead of creditors or a hostile takeover. They happily agreed to give Clark $4.4 million to produce his screenplay, noting that without Porky's on his calling card, he wouldn't even have been given that much. The screenplay, most of which remained intact throughout production, had piqued the interest of Academy Award-winning actor Jack Nicholson, who wanted to play the old man Parker part, but studio brass bristled at Nicholson's $2 million asking price, and the talks broke down. Darren McGavin, who had been working in Hollywood for almost 30 years, but known primarily for his work on TV, most notably as Kolchak, the Night Stalker, was then given the part. Clark tested thousands of child actors to play Ralphie, but returned to the actor he read first, the relatively unknown Peter Billingsley. Billingsley was a staple in TV commercials, and Clark initially rejected him as too obvious a choice. Melinda Dillon, best known for her Academy Award-nominated role in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, was cast as Ralphie's mom and given top billing in the credits. Unfortunately, her name is spelled incorrectly in those credits. The child actors who play Ralphie's classmates, on the other hand, were paid just $1 per day of shooting. Sadly, this was the pinnacle of Clark's directing career. Within a year, he would direct Dolly Parton and Sly Stallone in Rhinestone, and received the first of his 2 Lifetime Razzie Award nominations. The film was shot in Toronto and Cleveland, and the Parkers' home was sold on eBay in 2005 for $150,000, with the new owner restoring it to look just as it did in the film and opening it as a museum and gift shop. The home is also open for overnight stays, with price tags ranging from $400 on weeknights to almost $3,000 for Christmas Eve. A Christmas Story opened on Thanksgiving weekend 1982 and took in $2.2 million at the box office. In all, it generated just over $20 million in its initial theatrical run before fading into obscurity. Only after it began to air on cable TV during the early days of VHS and home recording did it start to establish its word-of-mouth place as a holiday classic. When MGM sold its entire film library to Ted Turner in 1986, A Christmas Story became a holiday staple on Turner's cable networks and is now shown in a 24-hour marathon beginning every Christmas Eve, a tradition that has lasted more than 25 years. Please join us for a live Q&A discussion of A Christmas Story on Tuesday, December 8th at 7:30 p.m. Go to thebaytheater.com for more information and a link to the discussion. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to get updates on new films in our Beyond the Bay series. Thanks for watching, and please enjoy the film.